But I want you to take this is the maximum amount of anime, even though I'm hopefully we'll play between now and GenCon. I want you to take this robot fist and feel the motivation to go forth and take worlds, not just for you, but for everyone who believes in you.
Nice. I recently watched Gurren Lagann for the first time, on a related note.
Then you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yep. This is the... is there any attack that exists in actual printed cards that has the word drill in it?
There's a
Cannon?
maybe on Cammy? No, it's a spike. Cannon spike. No, a spiral arrow. Spiral arrow. Close enough.
Arrow, yeah. This arrow shall pierce the heavens.
Well, and it's a spiral, so we're
there you go, spiral arrow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Perfect. Except I'm not bringing Cammy because Lord no, I can't play Cammy. But yeah, no. Oh man.
Have to wait for the inevitable Bodan promo to get an actual drill.
All right.
Or no, isn't in
So we are on
the
stream.
thing we're not supposed to talk about.
Yes. Yeah, that was my first thought. Was like, oh, I know, but let's keep moving and talk about printed published cards.
Right. Sorry.
It's fine. It's fine. I had to edit stuff out of the previous thing that I got a previous broadcast. I had to edit stuff myself because I said something I wasn't supposed to. It's like, oh, whoops. Right. It's fine. Okay.
Well,
So then, real talk. Because I'm strongly considering trying to actually compete and not just show up. We know I'm bringing them because there's no actual decision there.
Right.
Ramos is probably my best, and they're my favorite.
I think
characters.
Cyrus is a great character. I think.
I feel like I'm just starting to learn how to play him, honestly, because it turns out that his Exceed mode is good, and I've never paid attention to it before.
Like the thing is, it's sort of like he has so much action compression, and he needs every ounce of it. Is how I see Cyrus. I feel like people get drunk on the gauge and the recursion.
I do.
And the thing that happens with the boost from gauge is people can put themselves in some really weird deck shapes with him. You know how I've said that like there's certain characters whose win rate is determined by landing certain cards?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think his win rate is determined by it, but I think his win rate spikes in any matchup that Treasure Hunter lands.
I would firmly agree. The value of that card is like that. So
I mean, I'm gonna be serious. If you look at it from a purely, except for the not beating focus part, Treasure Hunter is like swangy.
Yeah, it is.
Mean, it's really not, because the other thing that Swangy also does is beat Assault, which is super rude. But Carl's a good character.
Yes. And Carl wants to be at range 1, but like in terms of the positioning advantage against Cyrus, its value, like that's where its value skyrockets in my estimation.
Yeah,
like,
it's
what makes it good.
It goes from his worst board state to his best board state. Deprives their opponent of gauge, which is big in every season. And gets him more of his choice. Like, that's the other thing about it.
Yeah. That is...
Oh no, it's top card or discard.
I
thought it was...
I mean, still, like, that's still gonna be... Like, that's still always good. Because...
So,
yeah.
I guess the point is, I feel like you can bring Cyrus, but... I'm trying to think... Are you trying to cover like the Eugenia Umina matchup with Cyrus?
So let's talk teams if you want, if you don't mind, for just a minute.
Sure, I've got I got a little bit of time.
Cool.
I'm maybe writing an email while I do it.
That is fine. Yeah, I can't play Carl. I'm gonna set him aside. So I got my girls. I got Ramos and Eugene. That's a given. My season 1 mains are Natalie and Skullman. Honestly, I don't think I'm competitively good with either of them. I really enjoy playing them. I don't think I should play them in tournaments.
I agree.
They're just super fun.
Natalie, people know Natalie. I mean, you might steal some wins with Natalie, but not so much that I think she deserves a team spot.
Yeah, I can take a lot of people by surprise with Natalie, and I don't think she's like I don't think she's anywhere close to unplayable. I don't think she's as bad as most people think she is, but, you know, I do think that she's below average, like, in terms of overall power level. And I'm also, like, not competitively good with her, because I don't play her as often, and I don't know nearly as many matchups with Natalie as I do with many other characters. So I'm just going to set her out. So the Season 2 contenders were always... Cyrus was the one I thought I was maining, and then Umina is one I've considered, and then my Season 3 mains have of course been Akuma and Dan, and suddenly Guile got thrown into the mix. I don't think there have been any other Season 2 characters I've seriously considered bringing. I'm a good Iaquis, but I don't...
Iaquis, in my recent experience with him, has some really bad matchups. Like, really bad matchups. Like, if he had any solid way of tutoring out some of his stuff, it would be a lot better. But he doesn't.
Yeah.
Like, and all of his attacks are somewhat awkward to hit with, in ways that, like, if you miss out on them, you're gonna feel that miss for the entire...
Yeah. Like, I like using that to manipulate opponent positioning so that I can land follow-ups more easily, but the fact is you're still missing out on something to do it, and the price you pay on losing a strike tends to be higher than it should be, because the price he gains, like, because the price the opponent pays when he wins a strike is so high. It makes sense. I also feel like what you were saying about landing attacks is true for this boost. Like, in games in which I can play Roar and draw 5 cards, like, those are games in which I tend to perform extremely well as Iaquis. In games where that gets swept or parried, or I just don't draw it, I don't do very well at all.
Yeah. So, like I said, he's fun. He's strong. I feel like I need a little bit more tech with him to get to the point where I'm in the corner of my mind. I'm starting to think maybe he should be played like Belcor. In a, like, basically spend your first side in setup, and like play both roars the second you get them, protect yourself with +4 speed boosts, and just get your transforms out, and then reshuffle and say the real fight starts now.
Yeah, I also wonder. Yeah, he's another character that I never used the Exceed side, because I love the front side so much. But his Exceed side is unbelievably good.
It's so good.
It's just that I get so much power out of the front side, I tend not to use it. Like,
if he didn't have Swift Destruction, his front side would be a bit weaker. But the fact is, he does.
Yeah. Notable good boost.
Notable good boost +4 speed.
Yeah.
I was having a lot of trouble in the Vega matchup, to be honest.
Against Vega?
Yeah.
Huh.
I wasn't fast enough to compete in terms of getting my damage down. And once he had Mask and Claw up, and I'm like, I can trade with this, but I'm trading for like 10 or 11. Oof. Things no longer became nearly as simple.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Some of that I think was deck shape though, but
they're super close to each other in terms of speed spreads, so I guess that does make sense. Where, like, if Iaquis initiates, there's a chance of things going very badly if Vega EXs or if he just plays the wrong thing. And I guess Rolling Pistol ruins everyone's day.
The funny thing is, like, that was one of the ones I was sort of least afraid of them all. But it was just a question of what's the word I'm looking for? Like, it was very, very high damage, very high board coverage. Charles exceeds with Vega immediately.
I noticed that. I very much noticed that.
Does he not read those ultras? I guess not. But the point is, because Iaquis also, I spent a lot of time reloading.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
I couldn't set up beats where I at least traded up enough to get the Mask and Claw off him.
That makes sense.
So
yeah, he doesn't have the kind of movement that Vega does. So when Iaquis spends resources before he has, the 2 transforms out that make it easier, he's just not going to be able to have the economy to keep up with someone like Vega who has all the movement boosts.
Right, and very simply, I think there was a turn where I was boost with destruction, tech, boost with destruction, tech.
Oh. Fair.
So,
Painful but fair.
I mean, what can you do?
Yep. Okay.
But
So,
getting back to the issue at hand,
yeah. So these are the characters that I would seriously consider bringing for my third.
Of the remaining.
If you're looking at the screen, I'm not sure if you are. Akuma, Dan, Guile.
Yeah.
Cyrus, Umina.
Akuma feels. I would say if you were going to test a character this week, test Akuma. I know it's late, but I think Akuma's biggest thing is what are his matchups really like? Because he's this weird boost monster, but there's a lot of S2s with really pokey range things that just make him cry.
Yeah, the thing that Akuma struggles with is more in my experience when I play Akuma. What I struggle with is the playstyle that is the Marco Reggie playstyle, which is mono red aggro, right? Like if they never let me get 2 boosts in play, my Akuma doesn't win games. Like he just can't. So players who are willing to just wild swing when I play 1 boost, no matter what the boost is, like I am just gonna have problems with Akuma. If my opponent is also fast, sorry, if the opponent's a slow character, then generally I'm just gonna blow them up anyway. But if they're like a fast character, like Lucia or Cyrus or whoever, then
the thing is for the Lucia, Cyrus, I kind of count Eugenia in that mold because she is generally above curve.
She's range pokey, yeah.
Like you have Remy, who I think beats up on them a lot because they do these pokes, and you're like, great, reactive EX. Too bad for you.
True.
So
that's fair. There's some overlap, I guess.
I guess like that's the big thing is I'm sort of like I'm looking at what your weak matchups are as a player and what your weak matchups are with those 2 characters. Mm-hmm. I think bringing a wild swinger is important to fight against other wild swingers.
Sure.
Like someone who can fight from 0 cards is useful because Marathi is still in this game.
Absolutely.
I feel like I was saying, I just I guess I think
so.
The only thing
my worst matchups as a player are like we know Renea is probably my worst matchup. I'm bad against certain Mulatto play styles. Mulatto, namely. And then those are probably my worst in season 2, at least in my opinion. In season 3, I'm actually not very good against Sagat and Vega, I think. But my worst matchup in season 3 is Zangief for sure. He's the one I'm by far the worst at.
I mean, he literally stands next to you and is like, guess what? It's a mix-up.
Yep. In season 1, Miska is probably my worst matchup, which is strange to say. But like everyone else I know what to do against, and I tend to just run out of things to do against a really good Miska player because they know when to use Bear and when not to use Bear. And even like Lily, I know how to beat Lily. I've played against a lot of Lily. I played against Miska a lot, and I tend to still lose. So I don't know if there's anything common there, but I'm also not very good against Eugenia, but I don't think I'm as bad against her as I am against Renea. So those are my bad matchups as a player.
I feel like Cyrus and Guile cover a similar niche. Cyrus is definitely more evasion focused, but he can beat Vega with that by just when it gets to that point where the hand shape is in that middle of the road thing, he can just be like, I'm gonna stand middle board space. This is dead, this is dead, this is dead, and this loses to this. I think Guile actually doesn't have a bad matchup against Geef, because Preemptive Strike.
Fair.
Like Preemptive Strike into one of his many Speed 4 brutal EXs is a very good mode of play. It's not guaranteed by a long shot, but like as a character who can spend a gauge and hit speed 8 with remarkable ability. But I feel like Guile has the buttons.
Mm-hmm.
He has some evasive moves. The advance 2 on what is it? The 1-2-6
Oh,
advance
double sweep
2.
kick.
Yeah, with the range on it.
Yeah.
So
I think if I see a Zangief, ideally I run Rimalis, because I think that's the character. Well, or Umina, if I have an Umina, right? But like I run Rimalis or a character like Umina because Umina toys with range 1 characters.
yes.
And it's just embarrassing. And then Rimalis, if I can, Rimalis buys me enough time to figure out my opponent's playstyle as a player, so I can decide when to commit on fast or slow things, which is kind of important because if I don't know if my opponent's going to be the kind of player who goes fast, slow, or mid speed as Zangief, I'm just gonna die.
So I feel like you're always bringing Imogene, and there's a lot of characters she can just prey on. And also, so you're probably gonna lead with her, do you think?
Well,
Or is it gonna be...
depends on what I see. I mean, I'll probably play. Okay, thinking competitively. Depending on the rules for swapping, I would lead with. I would probably lead with Imogene because my Imogene tends to take people by surprise if they're not used to fighting against Imogene, and and I know she's good, and I can tend to get a very good idea about my opponents throughout that game. The drawback of that part of it, though, is that when I'm playing Imogene at my best, I actually don't learn as much about the opponent as in most other matchups. Because they're dead, and because I'm striking face up, which means they don't tell me anything about their choices. They look at my attack and they make a decision, and it's not, oh, they're the kind of person who anticipates this. It's like, oh, well, they knew my attacks, they did this. So I don't gain as much useful information in Imogene games. But, you know, I tend to perform well enough that it's still worth playing her.
Right. I guess, and against folks that you know from the Discord meta, you have the option of being like, you know my Imogene, deal with these other 2 characters. I think your Rimalis is your most sort of raw power character in that sense. Like,
yeah, she's the character I break out. Like, literally in a playtesting session the other day, we were like, hey, is this character a little too strong? And we were like, how do we determine this? And at some point it was like, how about I play my Rimalis against them? And people were like, yes, let's do that. Because that's like a benchmark of like, this is my strongest character, almost certainly.
Right.
Just across the board.
I mean, speaking from my experience at PAX East, I played Minato every match except one. Where I think I started... Something about the matchup made me start Yaquis instead. And then I think I won one, lost one, and switched to Minato. So...
I mean, if you think I should just lead Rimalis every match that I can and tear things up, I don't have a problem with that.
See, I honestly think like that is a very strong plan. So then, if that is the plan, then who beats your Rimalis? Or what are Remalis's character bad matchups, and how do we play around those?
Yeah, that makes sense.
In which case, I'm starting to feel like as much as I'd love to see your Guile, and I think your Cyrus is getting there, like, Umina is the arch queen of nah.
That's true. She is the control character.
Like, you had a game plan. Oh, you're a boost character. Oh, you're this. Oh, you're the... Just stop. Just stop.
Yep. Yeah, she might be the answer to those, because if I think about Rimalis' worst matchups, they are against like fast mobile rangers, basically. Like Lily, Melian, Cyrus, actually. Not as much Cammy, but like Chun-Li, sorta. Anybody who's going to be getting away from her consistently, because like she has one good ranged attack, and that's it. It's not even very good. And the rest of the time I need to get in their face. And while I'm good at doing that I'd rather spend those resources on other things. So,
right.
people who drain the clock by just keeping away and are very good at keeping away consistently are the people that I'm worried about with Rimless. So the people who... So yeah, Umina is probably a viable counter to anybody. So the question is, who should deal with those characters?
Cyrus is... everything you said about Umina there is something I would say about Cyrus being good enough to beat them at their own game at that exact playstyle.
That makes sense, because that is exactly Cyrus's playstyle. The rule is nobody wins that range against Cyrus. Except some people can, but yeah.
And the thing is, I also kind of feel like Guile can hang. Like, Boom isn't the best fireball, but it is 3 to 8.
Yes.
And roll exists.
Yeah, and it usually has enough guard that it lets him move in and then use roll and then keep fighting at his preferred ranges.
So
maybe these two are the ones that I should bring to shore up. If I lose as Rimless, I tag in for a Cyrus or a Guile. Well, you played against both of them. You played against my Cyrus and my Guile.
I feel like your Guile has the same trait as your Imogen in the whole, what do you mean you have 19 cards in your hand?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that is a surprise factor that will tilt a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. Did we submit our result?
I did not.
I did not. Crap. We're bad at this. Okay, so I won 1, you won 2.
Yes.
I'm submitting.
I'm also submitting.
Well, only one of us has to. So I'll let you do it.
Got it. So hold on 1 second.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's you have an unfortunate situation in that your Rimless covers a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I'm not even going to remotely suggest you drop Imogen because she has to be on your team even if you never play her.
Yeah.
Even if you never play her, she has to be on your team.
Yeah. Yeah, she's my girl. Can't drop her.
I understand that without question.
Yep.
So here's my question to you.
Mm-hmm.
And because this is going to be the trickier thing.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you think is more... gets a better... Like we talked even today about the perfect Cyrus opener.
Right.
Who closes the most matches by drawing the best opening 7? Between those 3 characters on the right.
So these 3.
Yes. Because I think at this point, Akuma's weaknesses are such that I don't think he's worth bringing. I think he's amazing, but I think he's just a little too fragile.
That's fair. I also think that Dan's consistency issues mean... Well, Dan is actually very consistent when I play him, but regardless, Dan, is a super plain character. He's not going to excel in any matchup that I can't also win with Rimless. So,
right.
He's just kind of a shadow. He's good. Okay, so you're saying who can close the best games by drawing the best opening hand is more or less what you said.
Who gets the most off good luck? Because what's inevitably going to happen is at some point you're going to have your back to the wall. And you may say, my deck... and you can look at it from the other way, which is who's the least consistent, who struggles the most by drawing 6 absolute trash cards, and then mulliganing them and getting another 6 absolute trash cards.
After these games, I feel like Cyrus suffers the most purely because there were several times when I had a hand that was shaped like, this or something, and I was at range 1. And I was like, okay.
Sounds like someone who needs to boost Symphony more.
Probably, yes. I feel like I did move as much as I reasonably could most of the time. I didn't hang out at range 1 worth anything. But it was still Cyrus has a dead range. It's range 1. It's a terrible range for him. And I definitely felt there were times that it was like, okay, this is a really bad situation, and there's nothing that gets him an out unless I'm in Exceed mode and I draw a cross. There's one card that gets me an out. Or Symphony. Okay, 2 cards. And Cross is only even good in Exceed mode because if you play it on normal mode, then you stand at range 3 and then they move in. Like, if you don't have the combo to strike immediately, that's just like, okay, well, fine. So I felt like he suffered with that. Umina has... When I play Umina, I tend to... Well, there are different lines of play that I use, but like, if I'm playing a control-y Umina that I'm trying to just counter what my opponent's doing, I tend to plan very long-term and then draw out the game until I have all the components to my plan in place, meaning she's super stable in most of my experience. It's like, eventually I'll draw this. Until then, I have things that will work, and I will always have things that work in some capacity because that's how Umina works. So I think she doesn't suffer under bad luck pretty much ever. And she has very stable openings. Like, turn 1 Dreamlands, and then you're good for anything. Like, whatever. Guile is... He definitely suffers... He doesn't suffer like Cyrus, in that he doesn't really have dead ranges. Even at range 1, he has Flash Kick, or... okay, Flash Kick. But he tends to make opponents, you know... My main strength as Guile is actually just that people are scared of him. When I play against somebody who's not afraid of my Guile, and they look at my 11, 15, 19 card hands, and they're like, whatever, okay, you're striking, sure, I'll play something good. Those are when I lose as Guile, usually.
So you're... Yeah. I mean, the truth is, though, anyone who is... I'm going to say this, and this is going to sound a little weird. You like playing mix-ups because you know the long-term payout of them is good.
Yes.
If people aren't scared of you, you have to train them to be scared of the mix-up, and the first time they take 9 and discard 2 cards and regret their life choices, they fear you. True.
And Guile is the only one of these 3 who can do that. Nobody else can... Like, Cyrus has to build up to that kind of payout with Dredge, and Dredge is a glorious payout, but it takes work to get there. It doesn't just happen in one turn. Guile goes, okay, +2 speed, crit EX, and you're like, what's happening? I guess I'm blocking. Oh, that's unfortunate for you. You don't even have enough force left to not get stunned or something. Like, he's just nonsense. Guile also has... my experience with Guile is that his opening hands are super stable in the sense that I will always have one of the plays that I need to make, which is boost sweep or boost... So, like, I look for sweep, dive, block, sonic boom. And if absolutely none of those happen, I'll hang on to a double sweep kick, fine. But the idea is that I'm doing a boost for speed, threatening dive or sonic boom. Then, if they don't strike, next turn I can boost for more speed or for power so that it buys time to let things go to gauge. Like, I have a really stable early game, and then late game seems to rely on fear. So, I don't know, I feel like Umina is the most stable throughout and has a super stable late game. Guile is extremely stable early. I don't remember if I've ever failed to exceed as Guile in the Guile versus the World games. Maybe once. And then proceed to also, you know, do cool things after that. Like, it just doesn't not happen.
So, like, I like your Cyrus, and I'm going to say what I honestly think is, I think you will have more mechanical power at your disposal with Umina, but I'm going to, again, phrase this in the form of a hypothetical.
Sure.
You just played, you know, Marco comes off the booth. I don't even know if Marco's going. Slams his Zangief in front of you. You lose the first match as Remulus, and you have the choice of switching. You'd rather see Umina there.
Yes, 100%. No hesitation whatsoever.
Right. So...
And honestly, if I'm up against Byron, and Byron drops Renea on the table, I'm like, I can't play Cyrus, because I'm going to get outplayed at my own Ranger game, and she also is better at moving than I am. I can't play Guile, because nothing will hit her, because she's faster than me all the time. I can play Umina.
Then it...
So Umina might be the answer, which is appropriate, since she's an answer character.
Which you don't have, because because the other two are very much. Well, no, I think Remlis is an answer character.
That's true. She's also a question character, but she is also an answer character. Like, she's both. Imogene is a question character. Remlis is flexible. Like, Ground Zero is a question. Everything else in her kit is answers.
And her UA is an answer.
And her UA is an answer.
Arguably, she flips from answer to question once she flips.
That's true. That's true. And actually, at Exceed, I probably won't Exceed with her much unless I'm doing extremely well. Like, I like Exceeding with Remlis because it's flashy, but most of the time, I'm going to win games more consistently if I don't Exceed with her. Just because if I know my opponent, if I have enough time to figure out their plays, I can win most strikes just with this ability.
So, what I'm going to say, and what I would suggest is think of bringing those 4, because there's one other factor. I'm about to sneeze.
Bless you. In advance.
Which is the energy it takes to play the character.
Ooh, points.
Because it's a tournament, it's long.
Mm-hmm.
I remember in my time when I was playing in the one time I got to play in BattleCon Worlds, I was mostly playing characters So don't tell anyone this. I don't think I've ever actually told anyone this. I mean, if it could be real, it's not a big deal. So I only owned Dev at the point where I played. It was War and Dev were out, and I think Fate was just coming out.
Mm-hmm.
So I went Melandrax. Trying to remember what my second was, because it was this weird draft format. Like, they laid all the guys out, and we were pulling from them. And I drafted Lixis. I had never played Lixis before in my life, but I was told Lixis was good.
Yep.
So, I played like 4 Lixis matches, including the match that tilted me out of the tournament. I played actually Andariel in like round 2. Beat him the first round. I don't even know what he was playing, and then it went to time, so I won the round. We rematched later in like round 4 or 5. He immediately pulls his Carolyn out.
Oh no.
And so, remember, I don't play Lixis.
Mm-hmm.
So beat 1, I throw down, I think, Naturalizing Shot, and I get Bladed Shot in the face for 8, so I'm like, wait a minute, doesn't that turn off? And Brad swings and just be like, no, it doesn't, and then leave. And I was just so tilted from taking 8 at first beat that the entire match was shot.
Oof.
Which, again, if I was more familiar with Lixis, but that was also in the early enough days that FAQ information wasn't even that far around.
Mm-hmm.
The point I'm trying to make is, the one time I did get to play Melandrax, I 20-0'd my opponent and felt fantastic.
Nice.
But it was also reinvigorating. And I spent a lot of time sweating playing a character I wasn't familiar with, and that cost me as the rounds went on.
Nice. Well,
so
Imogene is my safety as far as that goes then. If I start to worry about fatigue at all, I can switch to Imogene, and even if I throw a game, it's fine because I will feel refreshed after playing her, because that's how Imogene is for me. Remlis, I can feel very pressured just because competitive environment. She is not as easy to play as Remlis, or as Imogene for me. There's a lot more thinking. But Imogene is outright relaxing. Cyrus is the hardest, the most taxing of these on me, because I played him the least.
Honestly, at this point, I don't think there's anything Cyrus does for you that Umina doesn't.
Yeah, and then between these two, Umina is definitely more taxing, but as long as I have Imogene, I can probably manage. Playing Guile, I can put my Guile on autopilot at this point, because I've played,
literally a million matches. And I will say that is a point in Guile's favor, which is, what's your matchup experience with Guile? Yes.
That is very nearly true, and we almost have documented proof of it. Or rather, we have documented proof that it's very nearly true. Yeah.
But
that is a point in its favor, in his favor.
I would honestly bring those 4 characters and make the decision on the day.
Okay.
I would practice up. Like you said, your Guile's on autopilot. You don't really need to polish him. He is good to drop in if you need him.
Yeah.
And you also, it might be one of those things where you take a look around the table at the meta of what people are bringing, and say, you know, maybe some season 3 is what I need. I guess that would be the last thing. Is I do think you're right in that Umina probably has. See, against the season 1 terrors, like.
Imogene doesn't do well there. I need Umina or Rimless, and I don't think Guile even does well against them.
Right, but are there? So, and I guess.
And actually, Rimless does worse than Umina. But sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say is like I think. I again, my fan wants to see the Guile, but I think the Umina is probably going to be the stronger pick meta-wise.
Okay. Well, I'll look around the table and I'll see. And if somebody asks me to play Guile when I'm there, if somebody asks me in person to play Guile at the tournament, I'll do it. Everyone hear that. If you show up there in person, you ask me to play Guile, then I'll play Guile as a gift.
Wow. I just want to point out, you have literally called 1/3 of your team at the mercy of your opponents, which means you've basically fulfilled 95% of the style point requirements for winning the style.
Fair.
You said, I even let you guys pick my character, and I still won.
Fair. But if they don't ask, I will probably lean toward Umina. Because all those meta considerations make sense, and out of respect for the MadFnorder who believes in me, I will try to win Worlds, and we'll see what happens.
Well, again, I hope to offer my services sometime. I just finished moving, so I was a little out of connection, and I do want to get some testing in on those things that need testing.
Yep. But even if I'm not in LFG, or if I'm like marked as busy, because I'm always marked in busy as Discord, feel free to direct message me if you're looking for a game. I might be
right. And hopefully I'm going to be home this weekend. We can get some sets in if you'd like to do some testing, and just finish training up, because you got this.
Cool. My schedule is like haywire, so that's why I can't make any firm commitments. But like I said, generally just hit me up, and if I'm around, I'll definitely be happy to play.
Sounds good. I'm gonna hop off for now.
Yeah, thanks, dude. Thanks for this talk. Appreciate it.
No problem. You are awesome.
Likewise.
Go and prove it.